state, and this private company that Bill was involved with, and also Huma Abedin was involved with while she was a State Department employee, called Teneo up in New York, and then Bill Clinton's Clinton Foundation. This was like a big menage a trois, corporate menage a trois that was selling or trading. Let's use I don't know they were selling this stuff, but at least they were trading for services all this information. And the reason I believe she had the private servers in Chappaqua, the Clinton residence, was to evade not only the National Archives and Records Administration Act, which would make all those part of the record, but she was also trying to evade any leaks by people within State Department.
Sure. Wasn't she making her own compartmented State Department?
Yeah, it was her own. What she established was her own parallel communication system within the State Department. And remember what she said when...
if you did that at the NSA, wouldn't it be called espionage?
I'd still be in jail, and I wouldn't be seeing the light of day for the rest of my life. You know, Chelsea Manning, who now is reported to have tried to commit suicide today. And
let Chelsea Manning go. I mean, you cannot keep anybody in jail while Hillary goes free.
Well, he got 35 years before he had the sex change. But, 35 years, no wonder he tried to commit suicide. He got hammered because of the State Department cable leaks to WikiLeaks. He got 35 years in Leavenworth, and here Hillary Clinton gets a pass from the FBI. So no wonder the very next day...
Hey, she thinks she's a man. He thinks he's a woman. Let's put them in the same jail cell. I think it's fair. Let them be bunkmates. She can be the husband, or Rachel Maddow. Put her in jail with Manning. He'd be the guy, and then Manning's the girl. I believe that. I believe it. Hey, we'll be back with our guest, Wayne Madsen. I'm Alex Jones. And here's what the FBI director had to say about Hillary being hacked. She told our reporters she was never hacked.
With respect to potential computer intrusion by hostile actors, we did not find direct evidence that Secretary Clinton's personal email domain, in its various configurations since 2009, was hacked successfully. But given the nature of the system and of the actors potentially involved, we assess we would be unlikely to see such direct evidence. We do assess that hostile actors gained access to the private commercial email accounts of people with whom Secretary Clinton was in regular contact from her personal account. We also assess that Secretary Clinton's use of a personal email domain was both known by a large number of people and readily apparent. She also used her personal email extensively while outside the United States, including sending and receiving work-related emails in the territory of sophisticated adversaries. Given that combination of factors, we assess it is possible that hostile actors gained access to Secretary Clinton's personal email.
It is possible the sun came up this morning and that water's wet. Look, the important point here is that he keeps saying that it's possible because obviously when somebody gets in there, they're not going to leave a trail. Ladies and gentlemen, it's in WikiLeaks. It's in the Russian leaks. It's everywhere, Hillary's emails. So we know that went on. We're going to go to break. This is a short segment. Come back and talk to Mel, Corey, and Caesar finally, and Margaret with our guests, and then Joe Biggs joins us from the border. But am I wrong? I mean, you ran security, did a lot of security stuff at the NSA. This is what you watched for. As a real expert on this, Wayne, what are we looking at?
Well, first of all, if he's talking about sophisticated hostile actors, and I would argue with Comey whether some of these countries are, hostile as they were during the Cold War. I mean, China's our largest trading partner. Russia, the reason they're doing anything opposed to us is because we've got them backed up against the wall with now NATO troops on the Baltic borders with Russia. So I don't blame them. But it's very clear that when you get sophisticated attacks, they're coming in and they're not leaving a trail. They're pulling. They're in. They take what they need and then they cover up the fact that they were there. I think maybe the NSA has the capability to detect that, but I think it would be even hard for them. and the U.S. Cyber Command, because every other country now is trying to see us and raise us in the area of cybersecurity, and don't count the Russians and Chinese, and certainly not the Israelis, out on their sophistication of their cyber attacks.
Well, let's go further. Let's go further then. Yeah. Your gut, Hillary or Trump, who's going to win? Just first approximation. And then what happens under a Hillary administration?
You know, every time I hear about polls in certain states, and then we have this issue with this Trump sending out this tweet that he's being hammered on about the Hillary photograph and the Star of David. You know, 2 steps forward and 4 steps back. I think right now, it's going to be very hard for him to win the battleground states of Florida and Nevada and Virginia and North Carolina. Now, oddly enough, we're seeing a lot closer of a race in normal Democrat pickup states of Michigan and Ohio, which is a either or. It can go either way. It's a bellwether state.
Sure. How could she win in the Rust Belt? We've got 8 years of Obama screwing everybody, yeah. and then she's like running on his record.
Right. And Pennsylvania is in play. That's very interesting too, because that's always been a sure Democratic state in most of the last few elections.
What's your gut tell you though? The establishment wants Hillary. I think there's going to be election fraud.
Look at all the neocons that are bolting for Hillary. These so-called Republicans, these chameleons. You know, they were LBJ Democrats, then they were Scoop Jackson Democrats, and when Jimmy Carter became president, they left the Democratic Party and they became Reagan Republicans, and then they got in with the Bush family, and now look what they're doing. They're going back to the Democrats under
That's
Hillary.
Right. Anybody that supports Hillary ought to be ashamed of themselves. You couldn't be with a more rancid establishment whore.
Oh, absolutely. And look, the other thing, look at the series of events. We had this meeting on the Attorney General Lynch's private aircraft at Sky Harbor International in Phoenix in the private area of the airport. And Clinton says, I just wanted to go on and discuss my golf game and my grandkids. And Janet Reno, But
the FBI ordered the media to not film it. We'll be back with Wayne Madsen, your phone calls in 3 minutes. We're going right to Mel, Corey, and Caesar. Been real troopers holding in Margaret. Stay with us. I'm Alan Jones with Infowars.com. Please don't take the site for granted. It's under attack. March. America is going into a very decadent cycle right now. Global corporations are basically exempt from the law. We think about classical dictators and armies as enemies. But now we face global corporate rule. And Hillary Clinton is one of the most disgusting expressions of hubris and sadistic evil I've ever heard of in history, not just my lifetime. I want to go to our loaded phone calls for about 10 minutes to go to Joe Biggs on the border, but have a few minutes left here with Wayne Madsen. Very briefly, Wayne, I've got articles on the London Telegraph today with the top Silicon Valley people, all of them building armored redoubts, moving to the middle of nowhere, saying they think collapse is coming. They've set up a system where they collapse things to get control, but then it makes the money they've created worthless. It's like they can't help themselves because they have no goodwill towards people. They like screwing people over, but they screw themselves, corrupting the civilization that allowed them to even hatch. I don't understand it.
It's almost like the old syndico-anarchist political philosophy, which I believe George Soros practices every day. I mean, how he's now shorting the euro. He did the same thing after Brexit with the pound. He thrives on chaos.
They bet on every number and then just create chaos.
Yeah, and he finds profit can be made in chaos, and I see that all the time with the stuff that he gets his hands around. But I believe our election here is no different, because what we're seeing, look, all over the world we have political dysfunctionality taking place right now. You know, there's probably going to be a hung parliament in Australia. No party there got the majority to form the next government. Spain is in a similar situation. We have even the Germans now. Germany's talking about leaving the European Union. I mean, that is the engine for the EU, but we see parties there that are opposed.
What about the Islamic love affair with radical Islam? What's up with these German women getting raped, even ministers, and then covering it up?
I think it grows out of their World War II experience. They don't want to be seen as xenophobic.
So they hate themselves, so they ally with who their grandfathers allied with to come rape them.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, the same thing in Sweden. And we have...
But they're allying with the people that sided with the Nazis, and they hate America. What's their problem?
Yeah, I think they're confused about their own history in some of these countries. I mean, we had this judge that sentenced this Syrian migrant to just like a few months in prison because he raped a boy in a swimming pool because he said he was, he hadn't had sex for a while. I mean, like, that's an excuse, but apparently the judge felt sorry for him. No wonder Austria, they now know that their presidential election was fixed, and the Austrian court has ruled that they have to have another election in October.
Sure, here's another article on that. German author banned from Facebook after sharing book on migrant crime, Infowars.com. I mean, where do they, it's crazy authoritarianism.
Right, and I think we're seeing the same thing happening in this country. I said from the very beginning, I thought Donald Trump was absolutely on message with this anti-political correctness nonsense. Do you know there's a state representative from Philadelphia and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, who says she's opposed to the Confederate flag being used for Civil War reenactments. I mean, can you imagine how foolish and moronic that is?
Oh, she wants to ban symbols. She's a complete out-of-control moron.
What, she want to use the Imperial Japanese war flag at Civil War reenactments?
That's like France banning Nazi memorabilia from even like being sold. Well, who cares? It's memorabilia. It happened. It's history. It's like if I have a Japanese sword from 500 years ago, which I don't, I can't afford one. They're awesome. It doesn't mean I support Imperial Japan or the Shoguns. I mean, it's the most crazy crap I've ever heard. I mean, if I can afford one, I have one of those SS daggers. They're awesome. Doesn't mean I like the SS. Let's go ahead and talk to some callers. Let's go to Costa Rica and talk to Mel. You're on the air with Wayne Madsen. Thanks for holding so long. In fact, I'm putting Mel on hold, getting his address. He's getting a free Hillary for President shirt. Go ahead, Mel.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Jones. Sicilian Mel here from Costa Rica. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Great. While we're all distracted with Hillary Clinton and we're all distracted with Mr. Trump, there is the Antichrist of the New World Order who just got elected in the Philippines that you guys need to pay very, very close attention to. I mean, this guy...
he says he's like the right-wing messiah, and he's SWAT-teaming everybody and killing hundreds of, quote, drug dealers. That guy? Yeah,
he just came on TV yesterday, and he said, he mentioned 5 names of 5-star generals, and he said, don't leave the country. You're going to be called in for questioning. They already know that they're guilty of sin. This guy is going to start hanging people in public squares. One of the reporters asked him, why don't you use the electric chair? He said, I don't want to waste any money on electricity. Okay?
No, I mean, I've seen this new kind of flamboyant type guy. What do you make of him, Wayne?
Oh, well, his name is Duterte, and they call him Duterte Harry, like Dirty Harry. Look, the problem is that Obama has pledged U.S. military support to the Philippines in Obama's pivot to Asia, which is nothing more than his desire to take on China militarily. So Obama has this wonderful ally in this guy, Rodrigo Duterte, who he just said the other day he's only been president for a week and a half or so, and he proudly proclaimed that he's extrajudicially killed 5 drug dealers.
I think it's like 30 now. He also said he will kill members of the press. He said, if I don't like you, I will kill you.
Oh, yeah. Journalists are under the gun there, too. And but look, this is Obama's new ally in his planned war.
Well, it's okay because Obama's liberal. Thank you, Mel. Let's go ahead and talk to Caesar in Mexico. Caesar, thanks for holding. Didn't even notice you're from Mexico. Apologize. I didn't get to you earlier. I'm going to send you a Hillary for President shirt or a Molon Lobby, whichever you choose. Give us your name and address. We'll send it to you, Caesar. Make sure you're getting these addresses, John. I'm sorry to throw that at you. That guy just hung up. Call back, caller. The last caller from down in Costa Rica. Caesar, go ahead.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Alex. I had a comment here. How we see. I've been working in the education system here for about 7 years now, 8 years, And one reason I think, I strongly believe